Hey, everybody, it's Rick. Welcome to the strategy session on a Tuesday night. We have the disadvantage or advantage of being scattered all over the place tonight. We're sorry we're starting a couple minutes late. That's on me. I'm delighted to welcome my good friend, as always, Joe Trippi. And of course, my good friend, Jeff Timmer, who I was with not 12 hours ago at the Webby Awards. And somehow he seems to have not had the travel curse the rest of us get. So, well,
I made
guys,
it back uneventful. So
I love that. I love that. So, guys, I wanted to talk tonight, as we were talking a little bit before the show. I think the big story here, and I think a big story with major strategic political implications, is the great bribe in the sky, the
Jumbo
$500
grift.
million Qatari jet.
Yeah.
Air Hamas. What do you want to call it, Joe? I mean,
No, jumbo grift, I think,
jumbo
is like,
grift.
yeah, says it all, man. It's
Yeah.
like in plain sight. You can't get any more jumbo grift than this.
It really is like the most obscene, obvious, like easy to understand thing. And so, and I've been trying to sort of frame this out in my head, not just like the details of it, because they're all vile and stupid and shitty, but like the bigger political strategy. I mean, guys, am I wrong in thinking that this is? I mean, I always thought corruption's kind of a good killer app, and Democrats don't use it enough against the Republicans. Am I wrong in thinking this one could have some legs that stretch into, if we're in a bad economy, but Donny's getting a jet, well, girls are not getting their two dolls. It seems to me this has got some political legs to it.
I think corruption's the whole thing. I mean, I think that's look. There's incompetence. There's the fascism, all that stuff. Literally the cruelty of everything he does. But corruption, I think, is the one that's starting to break through, and we have to drive it
Yep.
constantly, day in and day out, because he's Donald the Corrupt. And this is and I think we need to do it that way, Donald the Corrupt, and give him his nickname, make it stick. But I also think this one is so obvious. I mean, and the national security implication, because surely there are no listening devices on this plane.
Oh no, that could never happen. They're only allies with China and Iran. What could go wrong?
yeah, well, it's not just the jet. You look at all the all the pomp and circumstance that the Saudis are rolling out, and MAGA Twitter is just fawning over. "Lo, America's respected again. Look at Donald Trump." These people know how to play him. It's all about the transactions, and our American foreign policy, we've certainly done our share of things that in retrospect aren't so great, but there's always been this aspirational goodness behind what we wanted to do: spread freedom and democracy to the world, prevent totalitarian communism or fascism. But now it's all about transactional, who's going to make money regardless of the cost of to humanity or to human rights. The wet embrace of Saudis in calling them a model for the future, like Trump did today.
Right.
Their people are enslaved in a totalitarian state.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that it's like the hypocrisy and the irony of this is, in 2017, when the Qataris wouldn't give Jared money to buy out his building that was failing in Manhattan, 666 Park Ave, when their sovereign wealth fund wouldn't give him the money, Trump went out and said, they're tied to Iran, they're tied to terrorism, Qatar is a terrorist country, we have to blockade them and cut them. And suddenly now it's like, what's changed exactly? Nothing, except that they're offering him the flying grift machine, the bribe in the sky. It really, I mean, I've given up hoping MAGA will be morally consistent or even politically consistent, but it strikes me that this is one of those minutes or one of those moments where the degree of just absolute raw greedy corruption when the rest of the country is hanging by a thread economically because of the trade war. We've talked a lot about this, guys. The trade war is going to have long running effects. It's not just going to be over because Trump pretends it's over. He really screwed us, and it's going to hurt for a long time. I just wonder, like, how do these folks, how do they have that contrast in their heads of one guy gets a $500 million jet as a bribe, and they get screwed when they go to Walmart to buy school supplies for their kids in a couple months?
But you saw this with all the CEOs over there, right? I mean,
Yeah.
hey, big deal. Who cares about the bone saw or anything else that's going on? I mean, it's like, how quick can you forget that stuff? And also you can sell some more chips or whatever it is that it's the same thing. It's like, hey, I'll get a free plane. We'll get some chips. It's the greed that literally leaving everybody. They don't care about anybody else. It is about them cutting a deal with MBS and just blind eye to the human rights or anything else that's going on, all for for the biggest deal or the free airplane. And who cares if national security is at risk, because there are no listening devices or any other problems that could happen on that plane. It's just insanity, but it doesn't matter because I get a free plane. I can fly around for the rest of my life on it.
And that's the other part of this. Is it's not as much as the MAGA guys are like, oh, it's a gift to the government. No, it goes to Trump's library, which is a private institution at the end of this thing. And I'm blown away that he's so greedy for this plane because it's decorated like he likes it, the Saddam Liberace style.
Yeah. Right.
That he's desperate to get this thing to happen. I know that he will order the Defense Department and L3 Harris, the company that builds all the comm stuff for the real Air Force Ones, to try to rush this thing along. If the Secret Service doesn't say, stop, boss, we can't be sure about this plane. There are thousands of miles of wiring on this plane. There are hundreds, maybe thousands of individual little boxes and widgets and modules. Who knows what has happened with any of them at all? There's no safety certification. There's no communication security stuff. I mean, I was around in the Defense Department when the last two Air Force Ones were delivered. And yes, they are getting long in the tooth. They've been flown hard and put away wet. But you don't just buy something that's been in the hands of a fucking emirate as a flying whorehouse and then say, oh, this is a great idea for the president of the United States to fly in this insecure aircraft. Now, look, there's a part of me that's like, well, it's Trump. He can, if it's not insecure, who knows? But I do find it incredibly.
It's amazing.
I still keep coming back to this. It's like, and I wrote this piece yesterday for my Substack that talking about, like, let's just pretend this happened to Joe Biden,
right?
And he took a $500 million jet. I think the Republicans actually got a lot more mileage out of this whole fake Hunter Biden is so corrupt scandal than we think. I think they got a lot more mileage of like disqualifying Joe Biden in the minds of some of their voters by saying, oh, he's making money and Hunter's it's a flim-flam and it's a scam. I think that this is, well, I don't think, I know, this is orders of magnitude worse than anything Hunter Biden ever did.
Yeah, well,
right, and the press is looking the other way again. I mean, there'll be like a one-day story about it, and then it'll be,
Yeah. Well, that shows you how the abnormal has just become so normalized. When you look at the scale of this corruption, it's Pam Bondi, who was, up until she was confirmed as the Attorney General, was making $115,000 a month from Qatar.
Which, by the way, folks, I consider that good money. I don't know about y'all.
Yeah. And so she gives her blessing to it. And I saw a clip right before we came on here of Ryan Zinke on Fox News saying, "Well, Pam Bondi signed off on it, so it must be legal."
Well, you go wrong.
These people, and they would be Jekyll and Hyde. If this was 120 days ago when this was happening, as Biden was leaving office, and some foreign government wanted to give him a plane for his personal use, and Merrick Garland had signed off on it and had been paid by that country, just imagine what Fox News and Steve Bannon and everybody would be saying.
It is unimaginable to my mind the political damage this would do.
Instead, the press asks questions like, could this be a violation of the emoluments clause? Like,
Right.
can it be? Come on.
Oh, you think?
Yeah. It's just like, it's just incredibly looking the other way at every level. I mean, now it does look a little bit like there could be, we'll see how long it lasts, but there are Republicans supposedly in the Senate who are starting to question whether this is going too far. I don't think Ted Cruz is one of them, but we'll see.
But no, look, we've seen there have been some of the. It's weird to agree with Laura Loomer on something,
right?
And Rand Paul,
Laura Loomer, Eric Erickson, the National Review guys who don't love us by any means. Everyone is out there, saying that this is one of the few issues that has triggered, like Ben Shapiro. It's triggered a response on the right that has really bothered a lot of people. And some of it is because of Israel, which this is a whole nother layer of this thing, is that Donald Trump didn't tell Netanyahu he was making these deals with Saudi and with the Emirates and with Qatar. And Netanyahu, from what I've heard today around not only reporting, but some other things from some of our old friends over there, Joe, that this really shocked the shit out of them. They're like, what? Wait, what? He ran and won in a lot of Jewish voters in America by saying, I will never, ever, ever be with the people that are backing Hamas.
And there he is.
Yeah. Well, did you guys see the deal in Damascus? They signed a licensing deal to open up a Trump golf course, and suddenly he says today he's lifting the sanctions on Syria.
Yeah, listen, I got to tell you guys, I don't really golf much, but if I do golf, I'm not going to golf in freaking Syria. I mean, come on. But I keep going back to this, and I keep wondering about this. There is this really fundamentally screwed up thing about our national media. That and Becky or Brenda, excuse me, says it should be easy to turn the public against this regime. Why isn't it? Pride. Look, part of this is that the national media has, whether they are doing it consciously or unconsciously, has a new framework in their minds about what they're supposed to do when it comes to reporting on the president of the United States. They're supposed to maintain a tone that sounds neutral in every way, even when they're reporting on outright criminality, which is what we're seeing right now. They're supposed to maintain a both sidesism. While Trump has taken a $500 million plane, Hunter Biden once sold an oil painting. About the same. But guys, I mean, I know it's like tiring to bitch about the mainstream media, but what we're doing here on Lincoln Square, what we're doing, across these platforms, is to try to give you folks more options on how to think about these things, how to hear the truth about these things. I mean, this show is meant as a bunch of political strategists to sit down behind pull the curtain back and show you how we would be thinking about this. Now, guys, so I want to ask a question that the mainstream media won't ask. What is the political strategy behind this in the White House right now? What's Susie Wiles telling the press shop and the comms people? How's she presenting this to them, while staying clear of Trump being angry with her? Because this is a bad problem if you're the White House chief of staff.
That's an interesting one. It's hard to say really if they see it as a problem yet, a political problem, or just an optics obstacle that they need to overcome. And looking at the messaging that's coming out of the White House, coming out of their mouthpieces, the Gunther Eaglemans and Benny Johnsons and all those folks are out there talking about this is it's good business. It's good for America that we're getting this. We don't have to pay for it. Trump is so respected. We're back. America is back in the world. So that's how they're conditioning their voters, the cult members, that this is all okay. And people who are, I'll be real surprised if the Ted Cruz's or Ben Shapiro's or even the Laura Loomers a week from now are still dug in and opposed to this, or if they haven't been moved off of this, why this is either a good thing, or that in Trump world that they go out and light some other fire now to get everybody from talking about this. They're going to rename the Atlantic Ocean the Gulf of Donald Ocean or whatever, just to get everybody chasing a bright, shiny object, so we stop talking about this. If they think there's anything that's going to stick to them, and it's only going to stick to them if the Democrats have the discipline to maintain a consistent, sustained messaging on this. If somebody steps up, I saw Schumer come out and say he's going to put procedural holds on
all of DOJ appointees.
But there's nobody out there with. I know they don't have the bully pulpit, but if everybody was singing from the same song sheet out there about this, but they're not. They're out chasing all the other rabbits and putting out the little fires that Trump and MAGA world set to, because they know they're going to bite. Every time.
They know every time. Go ahead, Joe.
No, I was going to say, but every rabbit has to be corruption. In other words, look, you can't be, this is incompetent, this is fascist, this is this. I mean, it's corrupt. And that's where I think there's no way in hell the Trump and everybody around him can avoid and circumvent that charge. I mean, people are getting it. And so I just think it's really pretty clear. It's brand him as Donald the corrupt, Trump the corrupt. Every time one of these things comes up, it's because he's corrupt, not because he's a fascist. I mean, there's plenty of reasons to go after him, and I know we'll be going after him on all of it. But I think it's to the party, the Democratic Party has to develop the discipline to call out the corruption at every, and to say that's why we need reform. That's why we need to reinvent this department, because he's torn it down. He's destroyed it for his own corrupt purposes. Right. We need to rebuild it and not restore it, but make it, we have to reinvent it, whatever he's doing, because I think that's the best message. It's to contrast his corruption and destruction with a reinvention, a renewal of America, not a renewal of the Democratic Party.
Right.
An American renewal.
Joe, I think that's a really good point. Is this isn't about just getting a majority for the Democrats. This is about stopping a tidal wave of corrupt practices at every level of the Trump administration, and frankly, at every level in the GOP. The Democrats have nobody to blame but themselves in the House if they don't all come out and say, when I'm a member of Congress, I will not trade stocks.
Right.
And they've fought against that for 2 years, 3 years now. I'm sorry, if you're a member of Congress, you should not be trading stocks based on your knowledge of what's going on in that institution. That's a simple corruption reform I think Democrats could really get a lot of traction on. This idea that you're going to also, I think Democrats should go into this next cycle with a message of anybody who's making money on the backs of the taxpayers is going to be accountable. We're going to have transparency. Right. We're going to see where the contracts are, who the lobbyists are. We're not going to play these games where Elon Musk gets multi-billion-dollar no-bid contracts just thrown on his desk. That is not how this is going to work anymore. That's not how the taxpayers deserve to have their hard-earned money treated. And I think, if you really want to reform government, it's not DOGE. It's big anti-corruption efforts at the national and frankly, even at the state level. I mean, in Florida, we've got Ron and Casey DeSantis stealing $10 million of taxpayer money to give to his super PAC, which is, in any fair universe, they'd be in jail already. If we did that, we'd be in jail right now.
Right.
and I think that's something we really that I think you're right, man. We gotta make that a tent pole of this election cycle, because the degree to which these people have abused their power to enrich themselves and their families is outrageous.
Yeah. When you look at the last 10 years, the Trump years, it shows that the Constitution in practice is broken. There are no guardrails on Trump. If he wasn't impeached for
Right.
convicted of the impeachable acts in his first term, whoever will be again, if he wasn't held accountable by the justice system once January 6th happened and the stolen documents and everything else, there is no holding him to account. If you think he was brazen in his first term, we're only 120 days into the second term, when he's already proven that there is no consequence whatsoever to anything that he does. The party's not going to hold him accountable. The Democrats may try, but they're going to quickly lose interest or start chasing something else, because the media, their attention span is going to shift, and he knows he can just get away with it. There's never been any lesson otherwise. Pain is his only teacher. He's never suffered any, and so, unless or until the Republicans cry foul, nothing's going to happen to him in the next year and a half.
That's why right now,
before the next election.
But that's why Timmer, right now has to be the beginning of the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's the end. 2026, the election of 2026 cannot be the beginning of the end. 2026 has to be the end. This has to be the beginning of the end. We have to create the pro-democracy movement, the pro-democracy messaging, the channels like Lincoln Square, and everything, Midas, everything out there. We have to. We, the American people, have got to stand up and say no, not on our watch, and grow from 3 million to 6 million to 12 million, whatever, because that's the only way anybody's going to have any spine. It's the only way the press is going to get any spine. It's the only way any Republicans in the Senate are going to get any. They got to become more worried, more afraid of the American people rising up than they are of MAGA in their primaries.
Right. They need to see people in the streets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's
exactly.
But here's the thing that we need to watch for is Trump and MAGA, the Stephen Millers, they're looking for that as an excuse, because they want the people in the streets so that they can trigger those random events that they can magnify into, the ability to call the Insurrection Act, declare martial law,
and I think
impede the elections.
But you got to. I believe that will only trigger more Americans in the streets.
Agree. I just think we need to recognize that
we have to
talk about it.
No. But look, I've been saying this for about a couple of weeks now. We got to take the color red away from them, wear red hats, confuse the shit out of them.
By the way, Joe had a recent podcast about taking back the red hat. Absolutely brilliant, Joe. It was so on point, because our Democratic friends we have said this 100 times. There it is. I love it. We said this 100 times. Do not let them own America's symbols.
Right. The red.
Don't let them own the flag and the eagle and all of the Constitution. If you let them do that, because here in Democrats, God love you. But I had a Democrat, and we made this point back in 2020 the first time, and I had a Democrat, very well-meaning, like, the Constitution is very flawed, and there was slavery and this. I'm like, okay, stop.
Right.
Stop. It is the year of our Lord now, 2024, Democrats. You own that flag. You own it. It's not their property. It's not a symbol that they're exclusively licensed to use. You own that flag. Yeah. You own those symbols. And the only reason you feel uncomfortable about them is because they're being used by a bunch of people who are dictator curious and fascist adjacent. I mean, it really... Yeah. And look, if you're in the streets this summer, folks, and people will and should be, I'm going to be at some point, carry as many American flags as you can.
Yeah.
Show these fuckers that you do not ever accept that patriotism is the property of Donald Trump's party. It's the exact opposite of that, I think.
If there were 3 million of us, like we have in these hands-off rallies, it's 3 million people with American flags and red hats saying refuse and resist, it would change what the red hat means. Because right now, when you see it, I know when I walked into a rally, a hands-off rally, wearing this, and the initial reaction was, "Oh my gosh, there's a MAGA guy coming at us to try to disrupt it." But as soon as people realized what it was, they all wanted one, and got, yeah, we can really disrupt, change their uniform, make it not mean what they want it to mean. And that's with the flag. It's everything that we've kind of unwittingly watched them sort of grab and take. I mean, to the point now where you see a pickup truck with an American flag on it, and you automatically assume that's one of them. No, it has to be all of us. It has to not mean that anymore. We have to take it back.
I could not agree more. So, guys, we're going to see this next few days. Trump's going to be in the Middle East for a couple of days. The Saudis, by the way, very, very kindly deployed some sort of portable McDonald's for Trump. Did you guys see this today? Check it out. It's out there on the socials. They sent some sort of like trailer-based McDonald's, like the parachuted this mini McDonald's in so that Trump can have his daily rations. But I think one thing to keep an eye on with this corruption, folks, every country in the Middle East and every country in Asia is now going to be in a race to give him bigger and more elaborate bribes. And the fact that we have an absolute get out of jail free card for Donald Trump, thanks to the Supreme Court, he believes he is absolutely immune. He believes there's nothing that can be done to or about him in any way whatsoever. And I think we need to keep reminding everybody that that's not the case. That the Congress has power, that a future Congress has power. But I think this is the takeaway from this strategy meeting, I think, tonight is the power of corruption is something that blows up one of the central illusions of Trump. That illusion used to be he's so rich, he doesn't need anybody's money. Nobody can influence Trump. And now we know that is not the case.
Well, that's for sure. That's absolutely sure. You can't buy Trump. It's been kind of the one of the refrains, unless you
apparently
happen to offer them cash or goods or S&H green stamps or 3 magic beans or
the cryptocurrency, the Trump coin, the whole thing. It's all the plane. It's all
of a piece.
Yes, all of it.
Well, when you remember, at his core, he's just astoundingly corrupt and profoundly stupid, and those are very, very dangerous combinations.
I'm definitely looking forward to more accountability on this as we go forward. Hey, well, folks, I want to thank everybody for joining us on the strategy session tonight. You guys are some of our best and most powerful supporters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Want to make a couple of quick announcements of shows in the lineup. You can always catch Joe Trippy's That Trippy Show. We haven't talked Jeff into a podcast yet on the network, but we're going to get there. You can catch me on the Enemies List twice a week, Lincoln Project podcast twice a week, the Elephant in the Room podcast on Fridays. It's a 15-minute show that I'm doing, and basically tries to pull back the curtain on what's happening in one political issue of the day. And people have really responded well to it. I'm super honored how folks have really jumped on that. Also, check out our friend Bobby Jones, who now has a podcast with us called Anchor Watch. Bobby is a Naval Academy grad. He is a guy who has served this country. He is an absolutely terrific interviewer and thinker. We're so happy to have him on the network with us. We're growing the Lincoln Square Network, folks, in leaps and bounds. It is growing fast, and it's all because of folks like you. We deeply appreciate all your support. Keep telling your friends. Keep sharing the content. As we grow this thing, and I will say this, every day, Lincoln Square gets to be more of a powerful voice out here in the political space. We're substituting for the job the media should be doing in a lot of places. And you guys have made that possible for us. And we're growing this thing fast. None of us here has taken a salary in this deal. This is a passion project right now. We're trying to make this thing something that grows big and powerful and effective for everybody in the pro-democracy movement, to have a rallying point, a place where you can go for hard facts and great opinions, and us occasionally making corny jokes, because I'm really good at that. And look, we're grateful. We depend on you, all of you. We're going to see you again next Tuesday, and not in the way. See, my grandmother would have slapped me if I made that joke. She would not let you make that joke, but she would say, if she didn't like a woman, she goes, "Oh, she's a TWA, you know what?" All right, that's enough chaos for one night, everybody. Thanks so much for watching, folks. We'll see you again next Tuesday.
Thanks all. Thanks, Timmer.